Let's talk about improving the acoustics of rooms. When this topic comes up, people are usually thinking of one or more of these three issues. They want to do soundproofing, which is to prevent sounds from coming into their space or from leaving one room and migrating to other parts of the building. They might be concerned about bass issues, where the room has uneven bass in it or certain bass notes are accentuated. Or they're trying to get rid of excess reflections and reverberation in the room. So let's touch on each one of these real quickly. If you want to do soundproofing of a room, you probably need to have realistic expectations because this can be a real challenging adventure. Sound will travel from one space into another through any little crevice that it can pass through. So you need to make sure that all of the doors and windows and openings are sealed up. You need to address things such as the heating air conditioning system and its ductwork so that can't pass sounds from one space to another. And then sounds are also passed from one space to another just through vibrations that conduct through the building materials themselves. And this is the expensive part of it because you need to fortify the ceiling, the floor, and the walls to make them vibration resistant. So that means making those surfaces out of very dense, heavy material that does not vibrate, and replacing the door with a really dense, heavy door that's not going to vibrate. And so you end up oftentimes building a room within a room. And so it can be a significant construction adventure. Or you're building a room within a room that has decoupling from the interior walls to the exterior walls to prevent vibration from passing through. These sorts of things are often best approached at the time that you construct the building. And you need to do dramatic amounts of reduction in order to have appreciable amounts of sound control. If you were to reduce the amount of sound passing from one room area into another by 90%, well, it would still sound half as loud on the other side. And so that wouldn't be very effective. You need to reduce the amount of energy passing from one area to another by maybe 1/1000th of its original amount in order to have really effective soundproofing. So you probably need to have realistic expectations about what you can achieve within your budget. Now, if you're okay with hearing some of the noise from that room, but you just want it quieter, doing things such as doubling up the sheetrock, putting in a really heavy, well-sealed door, maybe it'll get you where you need to be. The other issue is bass management, and this is where you have spotty or excessive bass in some parts of a room. Those really long bass wavelengths tend not to be very well controlled by most acoustical control products. And so there are specific solutions that address bass issues, such as bass traps, which are resonant enclosures that absorb specific frequencies of bass that can be strategically placed in a room to take care of those bass hotspots. That's a bit of an engineering-based approach, so you might need to do some room engineering to figure out what you need for bass traps and where they should be located to address those issues. Now, the most common issue and the biggest issue that most people have is room reflectivity, or too much reverb in a room. And almost any room that you're in, if it hasn't been sound treated, has this issue, even though you might not be aware of it, you might not be hearing it. Now, there are some rooms where they're obviously echoic. For example, you might go to a restaurant, and the restaurant has hard floors and hard surfaces everywhere and a big glass wall, and it's a busy place with lots of people, and you can imagine how noisy it is with all of the dishware clanking and people talking and all of the activity happening in the restaurant. And after you're in a space like that for an hour or two, and you get outside where it's quiet, you probably feel a bit of relief because that environment is just so intense. You've probably also noticed that on some YouTube videos where people are talking to a camera with the microphone back by the camera. It's a few feet back. You can hear the sound of the room that they're in. Maybe you've had the experience where you've put your phone down on a table and recorded a conversation, and the conversation sounded just fine when you were recording it. But when you play it back later, the recording doesn't sound anywhere near as clean and clear as it did when you were sitting there. So why is this? Well, it's because the room that you're in, the place where you did that recording, it actually sounds like the recording. It's actually got some noise and echo in it, but we just don't hear it. We don't perceive it when we're there live. And that's because we have two ears and a brain. And when sounds come and hit us, our brain is able to do some analysis of the timing of that sound from the two ears, which are separated by a little bit of distance here. And our brain is able to sort out whether or not the sounds we're hearing are direct sounds coming from another person speaking, or if they're sounds that have bounced around the room and then come to us. And our brain filters out all of that unnecessary information. So we can be in a pretty echoey room and we're not even aware of it because our brain is working overtime back there filtering that stuff out. But the thing is that when our brain is working so hard to filter out all of that extraneous noise in the room or from that restaurant, that's a lot of work. It can be tiring. It can be stressful. And so if we're able to fix the room so it doesn't have all of that echo, the room is going to be a lot more pleasant to be in. We might not be aware of it when we walk in. It might sound perfectly fine before treatment and still sounds fine after treatment. But because we've reduced all of those echoes in the room, our brain no longer has to be working overtime to filter it all out for us. And so that makes for a much more pleasant environment. So how can we control the echoes in the room? Well, part of it has to do with the design of the room itself. If the room is a perfect cube, 10 feet by 10 feet by 10 feet tall, that's going to very dramatically support certain frequencies that'll be reinforced by every direction. If the room is irregular shaped, where none of those dimensions are equally divisible into the other, then the sound will tend to scatter through the room and dissipate more quickly and not be supported by the room. And if you're building a new room and you want it to sound good, I'd suggest that you look up the golden ratio, which is a ratio of dimensions that are unrelated to each other that will give you the best sounding space. And then we can put in sound absorbing material into the room. We can put in carpeting, we can put in fluffy furniture, and we can put up things on the walls that absorb sound, such as curtains, fiberglass panels, or purpose-made acoustic panels. And on that topic, Xtuga has been kind enough to provide a sample of their new product, which is a acoustic wall panel. And these are pretty neat. They are some of the least expensive acoustic panels that you can buy. And they seem like they are extremely effective. I can tell immediately when I talk at the panel how much sound it's absorbing. These panels absorb over 90% of the sound that hits the surface. And so you can just put these up on the wall, and they are attractive and decorative. They come in different colors. This one is light gray. You can also get dark gray, black, white, pink, blue. And you can mix and match colors. All the colors have the same performance acoustically. And they can be set up to match your decor. And it's much more attractive than something like a moving blanket and more effective. They are 1 foot from edge to edge and about 0.9 square feet of absorbing surface area. This is a polyester product, so it's odor-free, non-toxic, flame-resistant. The fit and finish of the panels look pretty nice. I like the beveled edge that's all around them. And as I said, they seem extremely effective. Another nice thing about these panels is that on the back side, they have a peel away layer here which reveals adhesive. So they are already coated with an adhesive, so all you got to do is peel and stick the panel on the wall and you're done. Some panels require specialized adhesive to attach, but these come with it included, and so super simple to set up. So the question is, how many panels do we need to correct the acoustics in a room? These panels come in a box of 12. And it seems to me that for most medium-sized rooms, you're probably going to need about 10 or 15 packages of these panels to do the room, which would come in at a cost between $200 to $300. And that makes these some of the least expensive acoustical control products out there. And I think they'd be super effective. You want to cover about 20% of your wall space typically to achieve really good acoustical control. So just determine how many square feet of wall you have by multiplying the height times the width of each wall and adding all that up. And then figure 15 to 20% of that should be covered in panels. And each of those panels will cover 0.9 square feet. So if you're interested in controlling the reflections in a room, making your room sound better, making music when it's played in a room sound more distinct, clearer, more balanced, sharper stereo image, if you're looking for a space where you can do recordings without the room sounding echoey, or just want to make your room a more pleasant place to be and less stressful, consider putting some acoustical treatment up on the wall. And this is some of the easiest and least expensive options out there, these Xtuga panels. I'll put a link down below if you're interested in this product. And I think it's pretty neat. Well, I hope you found that interesting and informative about acoustic control in rooms. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for checking out the video. If you like this kind of content, and you haven't subscribed already, well, I wish you would. And if you do choose to subscribe, please reach down and click that bell so that you're notified when new content drops.